You see this? This right here? This is going to be, let's just say, the most cutthroat Legend Comp you've ever seen in your life. And all I can say is, you better be prepared if you want to even have a chance to not only get Emerald, but to even have a chance at participating and qualifying at a world champion level. In this video, all I can tell you is I'm going to go over what this competition means, in general, strategies you should be preparing for, and in general, what you need to be watching out for. And finally, I'll be covering builds for not only casual and intermediate play, maybe a couple builds for high level play, but I'll also cover the comp meta. So that way you as a player can make your time not only going from bronze all the way up to emerald a much easier task, but in general, giving yourself the highest chances of winning consistently. Let's get started with Legend Comp Round 6. I'm going to come at you guys with one disclaimer and then we're going to get right in the video. If you see anyone teaming, cheating, or stream sniping, it doesn't matter if it's your favorite streamer, your favorite YouTuber, or if it's me. Get that information, record it, send it to Sega, because I don't give a care in the world who it is. You, as a player, should uphold competitive integrity, and you should not be a little baby bitch about it, and you shouldn't be cheating your way to the top. You're taking away positions from the best players that have been working their butts off non-stop, and it doesn't matter who the player is, just being able to not only compete at the top level, and also even have a chance to make it the top 100 is going to be extremely hard. Everyone's coming out of their woodworks to play in this Legend Comp, to have a chance to go to New York. So, if you find someone cheating in any capacity at all, doesn't matter if it's stream sniping, doesn't matter if it's teaming, doesn't matter if it's anything, get that information, send it to Sega, and do not let them take a position from players that have been working their butts off to become one of the best in the game, and to have a chance to get through the qualifiers. Without further ado, let's get started with what to expect with this Legend competition. Now, with this Legend competition, all I can tell you is, it is going to be cutthroat. Do not expect someone to just hold their items. Do not expect someone to target the correct people with their items. Everything is off the table this Legend competition. I am not kidding when I say this. You are going to get offensive NATO'd. You are going to get frame 1 gloved. You're going to get frame 1 bombed. People are going to target you with KBB on shortcuts. It is literally going to be the most cutthroat Legend comp you've ever played in your life and you've ever seen. So, all I can say is, when you go into this Legend competition, be fully prepared for everything. It doesn't matter if it's the tiniest difference in gameplay. Players are going to be playing out of their minds, trying to win at any chance they have. It doesn't matter if it's the smallest odds increase or if it almost guarantees them a win if their play is successful. You need to be prepared for everything. Magnet on a shortcut you never would expect, they're gonna do it. You're gonna see a green glove ricocheting 3 times and then hitting you because of someone predicting you in your lines. Gonna happen. Someone gets a NATO and they see you right behind, they're gonna NATO you. You literally need to be prepared for everything at all costs. Do not, and I repeat this one more time, do not get complacent with your items. Do not be impatient, do not lose your focus, and above all, do not think players will not just do cutthroat things just to win a couple points. That is something you need to be prepared for. Now, let's talk about strategies, because strategy is one of the most important things with Legend Comp in general. Now, you know it's going to be cutthroat. Now, the question is, what are the best strategies for getting to Emerald and then going past Emerald? I'm gonna be honest with you, the best strategy in the game right now is still front running with a soft bag. So what do I mean by this? Front running is the act of getting to the front and just driving away with the race and making sure that you break slipstream from your opponents and ensuring that you cycle your items correctly to get in a position where you have shields, Omo Chow, Tornado, things of that nature that can help you take shortcuts or dodge items like King Boom Boo, Weight, Slime, Red Gloves, things of that nature. This doesn't mean you should cycle out your items willy-nilly. If you have a spike ball and then you have a shield, hold the spike ball, because a red glove or a slicer can target you very easily and it has auto targeting. You want to deny that so you don't want to waste your shield, because if you waste your shield, KBB will come up and KO you. So keep that in mind. But soft bagging is going to be very important, because when you soft bag, you're going to have items such as triple wisp, potentially laser, regular just white wisp, things of that nature that are going to be very, very important. Usually most players, when they're soft bagging, especially if they're front running players, are going to go wisp and laser in that order if they can achieve it, because wisp will let you take a very good shortcut. Laser is really good at stealing races at the end of the race, and also just in general a really good dodge item that has a lot of potential to have extensions, things of that nature. So if you can soft bag, just go for it. But if you get in a position where you can just front run out of control, you should probably do that, especially if you're rolling shields nonstop. Now, other strategies when it comes to casual, intermediate, and maybe even slightly high level play, you might be able to get away with bagging to some degree. Now, does this mean bagging is viable and optimal? No, it does not. But if the race allows for it and the pack is tightly woven where you're only a tiny bit behind them, so like say maybe only like 200 meters, then you actually have a chance to actually bag items such as laser, drill, triple wisp, monster truck, things of that nature that allow you to take multiple shortcuts. It is going to be very track dependent, it's going to be very lobby dependent, so do not resort to bagging all the time. It is something you have to be very cognizant about, because if you resort to bagging and the players in your lobby are much better, you are not only going to suffer immensely, but you're also going to almost guaranteed lose a few points. And if not, you're going to be able to salvage some points because some of the other players may not be as good as others. You need to be very careful with how you bag. Now, in general, mid-packing is probably the worst setup you can do. You do not want to mid-pack, because if you try to mid-pack and you get good items, slicers coming your way non-stop, and that is going to be a problem. So I recommend, if you can, commit to soft bagging early, get into a good front running position, preferably third place, let your opponents in first and second tank items such as weights and slime for you, and you can avoid weight slime KBB, and then you're able to take advantage from there while weight slime KBB are all on cooldown, so that way you are able to dodge whatever else you need to, and you have all your shortcutting items. That is probably going to be the best strategy for this legend comp in general, is soft bagging into front running, but make sure that you're in third place up until you can get in front of your opponents. If for whatever reason KBB or weights doesn't show up, then you need to be preparing to get ahead of your opponents as soon as possible, and you do not want to get complacent here. If you decide that it's been slightly too long where you've been in third place and you go to second place, that is almost guaranteed that you're going to have to deal with weights, and if you have to waste an item on weights when you could have avoided it just by being patient, that is going to bite you in the butt potentially, so be careful with that. And again, with bagging is going to be more viable the lower ranked you go, so when you get to top level play and even mostly high level play, hard bagging is going to get much worse. But in intermediate and below play, you might be able to bag consistently and get consistent wins, since when it comes to getting to Emerald, most importantly, it is going to be a fundamentals check of how good you use your items, how good your driving lines are, and in general, your awareness when it comes to the maps and the game around you. Now that I've covered strategy, let's go on to the biggest part of everything, and this is going to be the most important part of the video. It is the builds. And remember, I'm going to be covering not only casual builds, but I'm going to cover intermediate level builds, mid-level builds, high level builds, and comp level builds. And I'm going to be honest, I'm going to make sure that all builds from mid-level and below are going to be builds that don't revolve in Hyper Ring Engine 130, Perfect Charge, Bounty, and Quick Charge 2, because for the most part, if you're going to climb it from casual all the way up to high level, that is going to be your best strategy. But I would like to give you guys some fun options, so that way you don't have to just default to what is easily the best option of the meta. So we'll go from there, and when it comes to the comp meta, you should probably know what it's going to be based on what I just said. So let's move on to the casual intermediate level builds, and then we'll move from there. Now, casual and intermediate play. What do I mean by casual and intermediate play? So casual intermediate play is going to be around that bronze to plat level range. So intermediate is meaning mid-level for the most part is what I'm trying to say, and casual level is supposed to be like low level. So keep that in mind. It's going to be low level to mid-level, and when it comes to low to mid-level play, honestly, there's a lot of builds that you can make work. I mean, you can run the OGTT build. This is not a terrible build. It's not super hard to pull off, and it does give a lot of speed. But again, if you don't prefer this and you would rather try something else, there's always the fact that you can run Snake Stream, which is my OG build that I used to play all the time. This is not a terrible build, especially with power cars. You can run it very consistently, and you can slipstream off people nonstop. Plus, with Dash Battle Mini Bounty or even Air Trick Bounty, you're able to get constant ring generation on top of ring lines and on top of slipstream. So it's really nice for that reason. You can run the ring engine gadgets if you prefer. Now, I don't personally think the ring engine gadgets are good for low to mid level, specifically because a lot of players may not fully understand how to actually utilize the ring engines, and they may not fully understand how to take the proper lines or constantly get perfect charges off. So if you are proficient with using the perfect charge gadgets, specifically perfect charge bounty, and you want to use a ring engine, you can use ring engine 130 or hyper ring engine 130 if you can handle the 100 handling. It does come with a higher skill curve and a higher skill mastery requirement, and it is more of a knowledge check when you start playing it. But for the most part, if you want a more easy build that doesn't have as much of a exponential growth of stats, this is probably going to be the build for you if you want to use a ring engine. This is just a very consistent 130 ring engine build for low to mid level, so do not be afraid to run this. Now, if you want to run other fun stuff, if you're just strictly a casual fan that wants to do some funny stuff, and if you don't care too much about just automatically winning the race off of one interaction or just breaking slipstream, you can always run Monster Truck Starter with item hit and attack bounty. Now, I know I'm going to get a lot of crap for this, and a lot of players are going to get mad at me for recommending this at all, but in general, this is just a meme build. If you want to just meme and have fun in Legend Comp and the lower level lobbies, that is perfectly fine. This is probably a build for you, but in general, if you're trying to push to mid-level and high level, you do not want to be running this, but I'm throwing it in here because I think it's funny. You can run a mostly one slot setup, but you could throw in Perfect Charge Bounty. So the reason why you'd want to throw Perfect Charge Bounty, Short Fuse, things like this, you have a really good gadget for hitting a lot of players non-stop, and you can roll Short Fuse, and you have the ability to get a lot of rings. If you prefer not having this, you could always run something like Slipstream Bounty and Item Attack Bounty. But again, this is more more of a meme build. It's not really the best build by any means, but if you want to have fun, this is definitely a more for fun build. But you can definitely make this work on certain tracks like Apotos and Radical Highway where there's a lot of narrow spots. But again, when it comes to low to mid level, you can make a lot of things work. That's what I'm trying to get at. So don't be afraid to experiment and have fun with your builds. You can run Inventory Plus. Well, you should be running Wisp Kit specifically. You can run Excel Character Kit with this. This is a really solid combo for power cars and for bagging. Bagging's still a somewhat optimal thing you do in low to mid level because a lot of players don't know how to min-max their lines, their drifting, ring generation, things like that. They don't know how to min-max on that perfectly, so you can get away with bagging builds if you prefer. You can always run Inventory Plus if you prefer having Dark Chow in your builds. Again, this is definitely something that you want to be weary about. If you can't play Dark Chow started correctly, you want to stick to Wisp Kit because that's just Dark Chow Inventory Plus but easier, and you don't have to worry about slicers constantly hitting you. Other than those specific bagging setups, you could, if you really wanted to, run Inventory Swamp. Now, this is definitely a much harder setup to run. If you want to try something at a low to mid level that's really fun and it involves bagging, you could try Inventory Swamp. This is more of a setup where you bag a really solid item, and what you do is you keep swapping it out constantly for whatever is your worst item, so that way you don't lose your better item. This is more of a for fun setup. This isn't like a super preferred setup by any means. Finally, if you want to try to implement some other gadgets that like substitute item, I would just recommend Excel Character Kit with substitute item and quick charge 2. This is just a gadget that helps you to deal with a lot of items that are coming at you constantly. So if people are targeting you with red gloves, slicer, green gloves non-stop, you can actually use substitute item, and if you have an item in your inventory, it'll drop the item and you can keep going. You don't lose your drift, you don't lose your boost, nothing like that. So it's not a bad idea to have this gadget if you want to try it out. And again, this build is not terrible. You have ring generation for Slipstream Bounty, you have speed from ring game boost, you have quick charge too. But again, all I'm trying to get at is when you're playing in mid to low level, try to make some fun builds, but make sure the builds that you make follow good build theory practice. So in general, having ring generation, having speed, having some kind of drifting gadget that allows you to charge drifts faster, and then from there you can kind of min-max on other things, or you can kind of implement other things. Substitute item being a defensive gadget, so even though your ring generation is a little less, even though your speed is ring game boosting, you prefer to have another form of ring generation, you can get away with substitute item because you don't take damage, you don't slow down, things of that nature. So it's a alternative form of ring defense in a way where you don't have to worry about it. But if I'm wrong on substitute item, I will put up a text box here so that way you guys know if I am incorrect on this. But for the most part, this is going to be some of these fun builds. I just recommend, if you're going to run builds for low to mid level, ring game boost, ring engine, and if you're on the right track, you can get away with boost character kit and air trick based builds, but I just personally recommend ring game boost and the ring engines are your best by far. And then if you have the right track, like you're on Chronos or North Star, for example, running a bagging based build with Wisp Kit and Excel Character Kit is never a bad option, and you can definitely get away with it in the lower levels of play. But as soon as you get to high and top level, you need to be defaulting to Hyper Ring Engine 130. So please keep that in mind. The farther you go in this Legend competition, if you're trying to push to not only Emerald, but even to top level in Emerald, you have to learn how to play the meta combo of Hyper Ring Engine 130, Perfect Charge Bounty, and Quick Charge 2 in a handling car with preferably a power or speed character, usually a 20 power character in the minecart if you can, just so you have the most power possible and you don't lose bump wars. But other than that, that's all I got for you on the casual side. Again, one last thing, or the last thing, and I'm going to say this one last time. If you're playing in low to mid level, you can make basically anything work. Do not be afraid to try your favorite builds out and see if they work. And then if you don't like those builds and you want to try more for fun stuff, like I showed the monster truck starter build, you can do that, or the short fuse build, you can do that. But if you aren't trying to push yourself from low level to higher level, run ring game boost and run the ring engines, and try to make sure that you use those to the fullest of their ability. And especially when it comes to anything regarding ring game boost, again, Snake Stream is preferably my favorite build. You can run this on just about any vehicle and you can find success on it. So if you're in low to mid level, you can definitely make this work quite consistently. And you can bag, you can potentially front run with it if the circumstances are right. You can even mid pack if you really have to. But that's all I got for you on the low to mid level side. Let's move on to the high level builds and in general what high level needs to be worrying about. Now going on to the high level meta. So with the high level meta, let's just be honest here. I want to be real. The high level meta is primarily just going to be Hyper Ring Engine 130, and in the comp meta you'll hear me talk about more about DRE because that's where it's more preferable. But in high level, you're probably going to see people just running this build. This build is just hyper consistent. It's very easy to pull off. There's not a lot to talk about it really right now because I would like to talk about this more when it comes to comparing it. But in high level, you could make something with Ring Engine plus maybe something like Item Hit or Collision Evolution work. This isn't like a terrible build by any means, but this is just realistically worse Hyper Ring Engine 130. But if you're in high level and you want to try some fun builds out, Ring Engine 130 with like an evolution or Ring Engine 130 with Quick Charge 3, you can still use these builds and make them work, but Hyper Ring Engine 130 is still going to outspeed you because Ring Engine 130 only gets to about 17, maybe 18 flat speed if you play it correctly, whereas Hyper Ring Engine will always get to 21 flat speed, so you're always going to be losing out by 3 to 4 speed on Hyper Ring Engine 130 compared to Ring Engine 130. And even if you had item hit, you're still going to be down 1 flat speed even if you max your stats out with item hit or any of the other evolutions. So if you ever break slipstream with your opponent, they will slowly build a lead on you, and it all comes down to your driving lines and the items you have and what items your opponents get hit with. So keep that in mind. If you do run something like this and you can consistently stack the evolutions, you're still always going to be 1 flat speed slower than your opponents, so you're very reliant on not breaking slipstream with them. And if you do break slipstream with them, you are almost guaranteed you're going to probably have a hard time catching up to them if they have the correct items, such as getting shields, tornadoes, and Omochows, and even Wisp if the blue box shows up. So do keep that in mind at high level. When it comes to other builds, I don't really think there is a lot of other high level builds that you can run. You may find some moderate success with something like Ring Game Boost and Perfect Charge Bounty, like something like this, which is the old TT build. You might find some success with this, but again, for the most part, it's not consistent when you have something like the Ring Engine gadgets in the game. So I do recommend stick more towards the Ring Engine gadgets if you're at high level play and you're trying to push to top level, because otherwise you're going to get stuck with a build that doesn't have any stats that allows you to take better lines, like having 100 handling, while you're going to have a build that's going to require you to play lines a lot more precisely. And if you make even a mistake on this build, you're going to be struggling a lot. So preferably stick to a Hyper Ring Engine 130 if you're wanting to push the top level, but if you want to have a little more fun at high level and you want to try to push the top level without using Hyper Ring Engine 130, try Ring Engine 130 with an evolution gadget. Doesn't matter what it really is, whichever one you prefer, except for damage evolution, don't run that, but that's probably going to be the best setup for high level. So let's talk about the comp meta real fast. The comp meta is very easy to understand because the comp meta is literally just Hyper Ring Engine 130, Quick Charge 2, and Perfect Charge Bounty. You might be wondering, where is DRE? Well, after the nerfs to DRE and the changes to Hyper Ring Engine, well, the buffs, it is now preferable to have Hyper Ring Engine with 130 limit. This is because when Hyper Ring Engine is not only maxed out at 100 rings, and on top of that, you get your 100th ring, you now are able to outspeed DRE by 2 flat speed. So what does that mean? So Hyper Ring Engine, when it's maxed out on everything in a handling vehicle, you're going to have roughly about 21 flat speed bonus. This is very important because having any more flat speed on any other build that with consistent speed like Ring Engine or even DRE, this allows you to not only break slipstream when you get ramped up, but it also makes sure that no one can catch you after you break slipstream. So again, this is why you're not going to see a lot of DRE for the most part. More than likely, you're going to see a lot of Hyper Ring Engine 130, and this is part of the reason why Ring Engine 130 is actually really bad right now, is because Ring Engine 130 only gets you about 17, maybe 18 speed if you set your stats up correctly, and because of this, Hyper Ring Engine always outspeeds Ring Engine by 3 to 4 speed, and it always outspeeds DRE by 2 speed. So if you ever break slipstream with Hyper Ring Engine when you're at 100 rings, you will always outspeed DRE and Ring Engine 130, so that way you will make a breakaway and you'll slowly start building a gap and build that lead that you really want, especially if your driving lines are good. Now, if you're getting hit constantly or your driving lines are extremely good, you can run DRE still. Is this preferable? Arguably, it depends on your situation. If you're in a lobby that has a lot of people throwing items non-stop and they're being extremely cutthroat, and you know they're going to be extremely cutthroat, this build actually deals better with item hits non-stop because DRE at lower rings is actually better than Hyper Ring Engine and Ring Engine at lower rings, just because of the amount of stats and just in general both these ring engines being activated. You get +9 from both the engines being activated instead of the original, I believe, +12. I think they said +11 in the patch notes, but I believe it was +12. So you still get a massive boost of speed, unlike Ring Engine Solo or Hyper Ring Engine Solo where you get 3 and 4. So that is a huge difference between this. And on top of that, from Hyper Ring Engine, you still will get all the stats, so you get another +3 later, so you get +12 when you max out, and you'll get another +7 from all your rings when you get up to 99, so that will give you 19. But again, the later the race goes, if you get into a situation where Hyper Ring Engine 130 actually has all the rings, then you'll get into a position where DRE, you can never break slipstream again, otherwise you will never be able to catch up unless your lines are much better than your opponents. So do keep that in mind when you're running DRE or you're planning to run DRE. For the most part, Hyper Ring Engine 130 is going to be the most consistent option, and it's going to be the fastest option when it gets ramped up. But again, if your driving lines are really good, like let's say you're someone like Sneaky, Kedar, or Exponzo, you may see them run double Ring Engine because they're able to not only min-max their lines to the fullest, but they're also able to abuse players that take worse lines than them, which allows them to make massive breakaways early on that could potentially allow them to just win the race off of that. And it really depends on what happens, but for the most part, you'll see a lot of Hyper Ring Engine 130, if not exclusively this build. Now, with the comp meta covered, and in general, the other potential metas or builds that you can run in high level and low to mid level, that's going to do it for this video, guys. The best key takeaway from this video that I can really tell you is be on your A game, be prepared for anything to happen, and in short, be patient with your item play. Do not fall victim to someone hitting you and then immediately throwing your item. There's a lot of situational awareness that goes into not only just what you're doing, but what your opponents are going to have to do, and there's going to be a lot of cutthroat play. You do not want to fall victim to just getting completely destroyed because someone or something is causing you grief in the match. This is going to be not only the most cutthroat legend comp, but it's also going to require the most patience and the best mental states that you can achieve on top of good lines, good item play, and overall a fundamental check for not only just good players, but even top players. It is going to require everyone to play out of their mind if they even want to have a shot of getting to top 24. So that's all I got for you for this video, guys. Thank you so much for watching, and I wish you the best of luck going into Legend Comp Round 6. I'm going to be trying to hit top 24. I don't think I can do it because the players I'm going to be going against are insanely good at the game. But hey, even if I don't make it, I'm going to have a lot of fun trying to make it, and in general, I'm going to learn so much that it's going to make me even better at the game, especially if this game goes long-term for a second World Championship title. Maybe I'll have a chance in the next one. Otherwise, have yourselves a great one, and I wish you the best of luck in Legend Comp Round 6.